Buongiorno. I am Niccolo Machiavelli, diplomat, ambassador to the Republic of Florence, Italy, and ambassador. I am the author of a great philosophical work that has helped many political leaders across the globe. And it is this masterpiece that I have here. The Prince, or in Italian, Il Principe. Let me start off about myself. I am the son of a lawyer, and then later in life I became the ambassador to the House of Medici, a very well-known noble family, even though Florence at the time was a republic. I became their ambassador under the great Lorenzo de' Medici, or also known as Lorenzo the Magnificent. After the Medici family had lost control of Florence, I later served another family until later on in life I was arrested for conspiracy against the Medici family when they later regained control of the city. But there was a lot more. For the last 20 or 30 years or so, as serving as ambassador, I later became aware of the assassination plot against the Medici family, an attempted attack on my master's life, Lorenzo, and of course his poor brother that was killed on Easter Sunday of 1476, Giuliano de' Medici, at the hands of the conspirators, the Pazzi family, who had been in league with Pope Sixtus IV, a member of the Della Rovere family, who actually approved the assassination plots against my master, Lorenzo, and his brother and his entire family. Members of the Pazzi family were later executed among other conspirators, along with the Archbishop of Pisa, in which later on the Pope decided to excommunicate Lorenzo just for executing the Archbishop of Pisa, who was of course among the many conspirators that tried to take down the Medici family. Lorenzo's heir, Piero de' Medici, later became the successor of Lorenzo and was later in charge of the Medici Bank. As I said before, Florence at the time was a republic, but the Medici family had control of the city, therefore had control of the election. They had control of the elections and the votes, therefore keep putting them in power at all costs. Even though there was some hatred against the Medici family during the Pazzi plot, but later got their support and love again. As the years went on, I still served my master, the Medici family, under Lorenzo. And then in 1492, the Cardinal and Archbishop of Valencia, Spain, Cardinal Rodrigo Borgia, was later elected as Pope and took the name Pope Alexander VI. A man who has illegitimate children, even though they are his real children, even though he married a Roman courtesan. It was also discovered that he also had a mistress by the name of Giulia Farnese, who later bore him children as well. And then later on in life, after the death of the Pope's son, Juan Borgia, I was later excited and surprised, and I must say to my awe, by the Pope's other son, Cesare Borgia, who at the time later became cardinal after his father's ascension to the papal throne. But after his brother's death, which nobody knows exactly, he later became the captain general of the papal forces. He's the main reason why I wrote The Prince, Cesare himself. I've used as the perfect model for my book, The Prince. I was so amazed and so inspired by such a man who knew how to be tough, and most important all, not only was he loved, but he was also feared. That's why in my book I say it is far more safer to be feared than loved. He may have been a cruel man in his ambitions and his military prowess and his military campaigns across Italy, but he proved to be one strong general. A man who I adored so deeply. As I say again, he is the perfect inspiration for The Prince. This book lays down the foundation of how to gain power, wield it, and hold on to it as possible, as long as possible, even if you lose it. But Cesare, on the other hand, one of his greatest achievements was taking down one of the members of the Sforza family, Caterina Sforza of Forlì, who he managed to bring down and then regain control of Forlì. He also became the Duke of Romagna. He also helped King Louis XII of France to gain control of Milan after doing some business with the French king. Not only did he hold several titles such as the Lord of Forlì and the Duke of Romagna, he also became the Duke of the French Duchy of Valentinois. Many titles, even though he was no longer a cardinal. Amazed by such a man who had gained so much power. However, he only gained his fortunes and his prowess through the fortunes of his own father, the Pope. He also had met with one of Italy's greatest artists, Leonardo da Vinci, which he helped him with several military projects. But I do not mention Da Vinci in the book. I do mention some other well-known political figures. Many other political figures going back to ancient times, such as Julius Caesar, who of course was the Roman dictator of the ancient Republic of Rome, and then later his many descendants, who later became emperors. But many successors after the Caesars had died out completely. Many of them from Vespasian, Alexander, many other Roman emperors. I even mentioned a Greek king who was the last king of Sparta before Rome took over. And then, of course, Cesare himself, who had managed to gain control of the forces and other lords of the many noble families throughout Rome and also throughout Romagna. From Orsini, Colonna, the Vitelli, and many others. After my arrest by Piero de' Medici again, I was later expelled from Florence, not allowed to enter the city, not allowed to enter its parliament, not even allowed to preach any politics. I spent the last remainder of my days in my own villa, which I'm sitting in right now, when I started writing The Prince. My villa is right outside of Florence, about a few miles outside the city. I picked up a journal and started writing this masterpiece right here, which later was published. It became such an inspiring book of how to help political figures across the world. I have helped people to gain whatever power and whatever they can get their hands on. I thought really hard, as if I thought 500 years ahead of my time. Knowing there could be other leaders that will use this to who will become very clever, intrigued, And then, of course, like any leader, they'll lie through their teeth to gain whatever support, no matter what. Anything this book that helps to prove what a prince must do in order to survive and hang on to the power that he holds. This is a book that'll live on forever and will never be forgotten, because knowing, like Lorenzo, as I have told him and his family and other members of his family, I'm the only one that understands power, and you need me because I know how power works. In the past, I've also met with Cesare Borgia. Even after he lost his power, and then later went into exile after Pope Julius II, his father's rival cardinal took the throne. Had Cesare imprisoned, but then Cesare was later released from his captivity and later fled to his ancestral homeland of Spain, but later died in exile in Navarre. Before he died, I met up with him. How things were for him. Everything was not going well. Even before then, I still had conversations with him on his prowess and how he managed to gain whatever power and strength he had before he took down the Sforza family. So now I live in exile, writing this book, knowing that it'll help the future and many people that can gain whatever power. And it's not just for political purposes. It can be meant for anything, for like personal business and whatsoever, to gain whatever strength and power they can muster. Even military prowess. Help people to climb to the ranks. Because I even talk about military strategies in this book. How a prince must act as his own general. Do not use mercenaries or auxiliaries because they are useless and they don't work. They don't care for fighting for the glory of their country. They only care for coin. And it's better for a prince to trust himself as the captain general. No other captain, because they can't be trusted whatsoever, no matter what. Even if it means they're useless. That's why a prince must always be at the top of his game, just like Cesare Borgia. I hope you all understand my journeys as an ambassador and a diplomat, and including a philosopher. And one thing I've learned over the years, I find it a lot more better to support republics than inherited regimes like a monarchy. But still, it has been helpful for many leaders across the globe. Cesare Borgia, a great man, a captain general who took lead in everything until the very end. Once again, I say, it is far more safer for a prince to be feared than loved, even if you try to wield both. So, if you are interested in gaining power, I suggest you find yourself a copy of this book, The Prince. And it's not just this book I have written other works alone. I even written works about Cesare Borgia, but I only mention the title he had, the Duke of Valentino, or in French, Valentinois. I only say the Duke of Valentino, only not mention his name in the title, but you will know what I mean, that it is Cesare Borgia I do mention. You can learn a lot from me what it means to be a political leader or whatever kind of leadership you want to gain your hands on, even if it's military or personal business. So, it is your decision what you want to do, to wield power and gain and hold on to it for dear life. So, therefore, the Prince is your best hope. And I'm pretty sure there are other writers who will probably write the same thing as an inspiration to what I have done and how to help people gain and control power, whatever the cost. So till then, arrivederci, my friends.